Greetings guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Monette and this is my channel Evolve with Monette. All the king's horses and all of the king's men cannot put Harry and his family back together again. If you've tuned in, you've read the title, whatever I end up titling it, and you know exactly what we are going to discuss. And what we are going to discuss is a coronation to a slight degree. I'm going to focus more on the narcissistic part of the coronation that stuck out to me. Now, there are many that offer varying opinions on all members of the royals, but I'm focusing on specifically Harry because that has been what I've paid attention to. And there were some things that I saw that I wanted to point out to you. We watched Harry come in to the coronation when it happened, and he was by himself. He was alone. He did not have an entourage. He was talking with a smattering of the outskirts of the royal family. Everybody was cordial enough to him. Everyone treated him kindly, I imagine. But Harry's now become a liability. And years ago, I made a video where I talked about Meghan's agenda, Harry finally seeing what happens. But what Harry's in right now is a very dastardly part of any narcissistic love, not just love bombing, but any narcissistic undertow. Meghan is not associated with her family. She has no cause for them. She doesn't value them. She doesn't care for them. She discards them easily, and she really doesn't understand why Harry can't do the same. How come it's not so easy for Harry to set himself free as it is for her? Well, Harry's not actually a narcissist. However, a narcissist will imprint upon you after time, and you will start to take on their narcissistic traits. So that's what's happened with Harry as well here, is that he started to take on her narcissistic traits, and he is now a liability because no one knows if he's going to be reporting back directly to Meghan. No one knows if he's wearing a wire. No one knows what is going to be fodder for conversation for their next Netflix special, for their next tour, please leave us alone, stop looking at us tour. So no one knows what they're in for with these two, and so they are, you know, naturally guarded, which is what will happen. It's what we will do when we're dealing with a family member who is under the toe of narcissism. When I have had people in my life like that, I have abjectly cut them out without any kind of compunction, without any kind of second guessing, because I understood what the narcissist was about. Meaning, here Meghan had a very tight rope on Harry. He wasn't allowed to come for long. He wasn't allowed to stay for long. He wasn't allowed to mingle for his family. She also ensured that he wouldn't have any natural proclivity to do that by making the relationship as strained as possible between the family and he. So now Harry now feels like there is some great affront done to him, when the truth of the matter is, it was he who did it to them. And maybe some mutual offenses. In any in-lawship, there will be misunderstandings and situations of that nature. But what I want you to understand here is that Meghan set the trap for him very succinctly for him to excommunicate himself from not only family but country. And when this dissolves, and it will, because narcissists always have to have a new supply and a new up level, and it will dissolve. Harry will probably try to go back to his family, but there will be a lot of damage that's done. I imagine to some degree someone will welcome him, but it will be after much assessment of what he's gone through. And for any of us that have recovered from narcissistic relationships, we know what they do. We know how much therapy we had to have. We know how much energy we had to spend in really investigating what was going on within us that would allow us to let someone come in and inform us about the family that we loved, the people that we cared about, the people that we spend time and energy and share blood with, even if we had our own rifts. Harry wrote about in his book Spare all of the sibling rivalry that was there to be found between he and now Prince William. And so it's really interesting because it's 100% normal fodder. This is what happens in our family dynamics. But a narcissist goes in with a pinpoint in order to seek and destroy from the inside. They want you to be so terrible to whoever is around you that they won't welcome you back when they're ready to discard you, because a narcissist's aim is always to have you be isolated. They want you to be living in shame. And so I was watching Harry at the coronation, like many of you did as well, and I was thinking, well, Meg, what a bloody hell you've created here. You've actually accomplished this, which is what a narcissist will do. They will not miss. So she did accomplish her mission which was to create contrition and divide within the family, where now the brother's like, I don't even want to talk to you after the things you wrote about me. How could you? Especially when the institution of the family is built on never complain, never explain, and never divulge things that are going on behind the frame, okay, or inside of the firm. And so what we watched happen is very narcissistic, diabolical energy from Meghan's point of view, where there was a control on her supply, which is, listen, I know you have to go allegedly, but I'm not going to go, and that's going to cause a spectacle because everybody hates me, and I'm not going to get front row billing seating. They're going to find ways to shame me and whatever. And now she's the victim, but she made herself the victim. They are now professional, literally. They make their living off of being a victim. And Harry is like blindsided, because when you fall in love with a narcissist or get love bombed by them, or whatever word you want to use, I'm sure some of you in the comments will say he's not in love. Certainly, I would agree. But whatever word you want to use, when that happens to you, what will happen is that you completely disregard all the well-meaning advice, even if it's harsh, that's coming to you. And so he wrote about in Spare how his brother was like, the problem is Meghan here. The problem isn't everyone else that you've known your whole entire life. The problem doesn't mean that you didn't have interpersonal dynamics and problems between father and you and I and Kate and whatever. But the problem really is this interloper who has come in. It is not about her skin color, y'all. Meghan tried it. And I told you guys 2 years ago, if you go watch my video, that this issue wasn't about race at all for Meghan. Meghan used it conveniently because a narcissist will use whatever is at their disposal, whatever tools in their belt, to disarm a country, a nation, and a world, which is exactly what she did. So she used it very conveniently to great effect. But then also we trace back her history, which I was saying there 2 years ago. She did not put down that she was black on her applications for things. She definitely tried passing. She did pass. And the first time she realized she was black is when people were like, we hate her so much, we don't know why. Well, we'll attack something that's low vibrational, and this is what we did. And not all of them did. But what I'm saying is this. Meghan was never concerned about the racism. Meghan was concerned that she wasn't getting her way with them. And I said as much, and now it's all come out that she is exactly, could care less about her color. She cared about clout. She never was a proud black woman until it served her. Meghan is vapid and empty. And I'm not just saying it. Go watch anything and you will see that it's unfolding right before all of us. But she uses Harry as the mouthpiece. There he stood in his country. His children should have been there. I'm a person that loves family, a British West Indian culture and descent, my mother and father. And so I felt like, you know, your 4-year-old's birthday, could have had it in the kingdom, could have had it there. But she wanted to create a kerfuffle somehow because she wants to reinforce the idea that Harry's a spare. Look how they treat us, Harry. But she created vitriol and division and caused unnecessary stress to Queen Elizabeth upon her demise. Now, I don't care what your politics are or what you think. Just think about a family dynamic and having a new person come in and having someone take away your first of kin and they just spirit them away to a different place. And we're like, well, Harry's a grown man and whatever. I have watched this happen in my life. I've watched it happen with my clients, where a narcissist will get in and just blow up from the inside a relationship that's been in existence for years and years, for decades. It happens all the time because if someone is susceptible to that narcissistic abuse, as we know that Meghan is so very calculated with her use of his mother, Princess Diana, and the overlay from perfume to affect to clothing to all this weird stuff that she did to trigger him, and then to replicate like, oh, Harry, you're saving me like you couldn't save your mother. It's all there for you to see. I talked about it 2 years ago, but now the evidence is before all of thee, okay? You can go see it for yourself. And I want you to go see and pay attention if you're one of those people that are paying attention. But Harry is not well. Riding high, high-flying, adored he was for a time. They were very popular. The wedding was watched by many. But the issue is she did what all narcissist or toxic people do. Let's say you're like, I don't want to put narcissism on Meghan. Well, you're wrong. She's 1000% a narcissist. But let's say you just want to paint her with a brush of toxicity. A toxic person in a relationship will seek to isolate you right away. They want to isolate you. They want you to themselves. They don't want you to play and mingle with the people that can maybe have eyes on the nonsense that they would do. And she always came in with a plan. It was never to really cooperate or to work with anybody. She wanted to escape, to build her empire, and to get her money up and to become the mogul that she fancies herself as. We shall see how that will fall flat on its face as it goes on, which it's beginning to do already, and that's why I come back to you. Years ago when that video happened, I said I'm not just going to be a Meghan and Harry channel. Unless there's something to talk about, I'm not going to say it. But when I watched the coronation, I thought there was much here to be said. The fracture that has been caused is not a fracture, it's a full break. And there is no trust. We're dealing with a scorpionic parent, which is King Charles now. And let me tell you, the betrayal that he feels, and it doesn't mean that he hasn't heaped betrayal on others or hasn't done things or isn't renowned for his temper. He will not forgive Harry or allow him back in any way because now he doesn't trust him at all. Will he love him? Yes. The only one that could have mended this was Queen Elizabeth prior to her passing. If Harry were to come back into the fold, she would have made it all not go away, but she would have made everyone act accordingly. Now we're dealing with egos with Prince William and King Charles, you know, appropriately, an ego of her ego, but also real hurt pain, because one of the greatest affronts is when a narcissist can come in and defame your very character to someone who's known you so long. And it's like, what magical powers does this person have? Well, it's called a love bomb. We watched her do it. We watched the constant touching the claw that she got very famous for. We watched all of the grabbing, the eye contact, the intensity. She was trying to make sure that her very precious, you know, supply was enthralled and entranced with her. But it was there for all of us to see, from every lip reader to body language expert to therapist to narcissistic recovery coach to opining TV host. We all saw and did our armchair assessments of what was happening there. And as it's gone on progressively, it's become creepier and creepier and creepier and creepier. And we can't help but to stare, but also they want us to stare at the spare. It was designed that way. So what I want you guys to understand is that he now feels completely isolated and like, well, I have to make this work, which is something that we will do when we get into a situation. It's like, well, I'll prove it to you. You got it wrong. And I'm able to like make this work and I can have success here too. This is where Meghan is now the most dangerous because she has ultimate power here because she knows that the family despises her. She knows that a great portion of the country has ill feelings for her. She knows that Harry is a fish out of water. What does he really do? He was just, you know, he was in the military. He did do something, but now she's finding things. They're inventing things for him to do. And so if at any point, also Harry's the better parent. I'm not just saying that. Narcissists don't care about their kids. Their kids are merely props and supplies for them. If you guys have had narcissistic parents, you understand. They will pivot them and point them and they will merch them and do all the things that we've watched Meghan attempt to do. So what I want you to understand is this. Harry is very sweet and very much like his mother. Cancerian energy for sure. And he cares about his children. So Meghan will then use them against him eventually as some final pawns as we move forward with the story. But she has him right where she wants him now because everyone hates him. And it's not just something that's inferred. Before they hated her. And a narcissist is really good at a smear campaign. They'll make sure that whoever hates them now hates you. So they can say, see, babe, it's me and you against the world. See, I told you your family would do this. She plotted it. She planned it. We all watched it. And it happened like textbook in front of us, like a bad Lifetime movie. We watched her plan and plot and accomplish exactly what she wanted to do with Harry, which was to have him to herself, because that's what any toxic, narcissistic, or abusive partner wants. They don't care about your mental health. A partner that cares about you facilitates the relationship between you and the brother that may be fractured, or you and the sister that may be off and aren't speaking after Thanksgiving. Hold on, guys. Sorry. So a brother or a sister or a wife that cares about you will encourage for there to be mending in that situation. She found the spots of soreness. She listened. She let him confide in her. And then she picked it apart because it served her. That's the diabolical machinations, Machiavellian machinations of a narcissist. And we watched it happen. So all of the king's horses and all of the king's men will never be able to reassemble, especially with that scorpionic King Charles, them back together again. Scorpionic energy, evolved or not evolved, is naturally not trusting, okay? So here's what you need to know about this. He will never treat Harry the same. He will never give Harry the same grace. Again, the only saving grace was Queen Elizabeth, where she's still to be living. If Harry had come back into the fold, then yes, not that it would be forgiven, but she wouldn't allow for them to ostracize him. Now he is persona non grata, but he did it to himself via his allegiance and loyalty to Meghan, which, you know, the Bible says we leave and cleave, we connect to our partner, but a narcissist wants you to leave and cleave. Look how she discarded her family. And yes, you can say that her family is grifters and this and that, but nobody wants to be in someone's life and then have them discard them without reason. Let's say they had a real fallout and there was really something that we could trace to it. That's not what happened here, folks. Meghan is a social climber, and we've seen the stories and we've heard from the friends and family and the ex-husbands and the ex-besties and all of the stuff, and we've seen her lie right to our face. I didn't know who the king and queen were. I didn't know about Prince Harry when she's sitting in front of the castle. Like, guys, it's a tall tale, and that's what narcissists are renowned for. So Harry is now a man amongst himself. You know, he does not. He's a man without a country. He is now made to feel uncomfortable for 24 hours inside of his country. I want to tell you the behind the scenes too of what was happening there as well. HG Tudor does a fantastic breakdown if you really want to get into this, if you're really into narcissistic abuse and understanding the supply, the withholding, the punishment, the silent treatment that narcissists will use. He's fantastic for that. But it was already a guilt trip for him the whole time. And then there was the negotiations. I tell you this without having to talk to anybody, no allegedly. Scorpionic King Charles did not want Meghan to be there and barely wanted Harry, but knew that it would be appropriate for Harry to be there because of the optics, right? And I think he may have wanted his son there energetically from what I channeled, but here's the deal. He doesn't trust him, not as close as he could touch him. He does not trust him, and it would have been a very cold reception. We even see Charles holding Meghan accountable when they were still in the castle. We see there are videos that you can find of Charles scolding Meghan because she was wanting to walk in front and go against protocol and just do weird stuff that anybody would pay attention to, like, have learned and do. She's an actress. Researching is part of, she's an actress. Researching is part of her actual job. So even if you didn't know what to do, as she feigned in the Netflix special, you research what to do. We all Google, just like you Googled the anthem and all the rest of it. You Google how to carry yourself in these situations, but she didn't want to because her narcissism dictates that she needed to be at the forefront of things. So she gave Harry a lot of guilt leading up to it. You know, what is your family going to do? How are they going to treat you? How are they going to treat me? I don't want to subject our kids to the scrutiny. I don't want them on camera. A lot of guilt. There was a lot of communication the whole time he was there. A lot of communication, a lot of how's it going? It's awful. Are they still treating you like despair? I know they are, honey. Come home. I can't wait to make love to you. I can't wait to make this better for you. And in so much, not that she just cracked the whip and Harry listened, but yes, that too. But it's very interesting because Harry, one of the things that a narcissist does is they will make you actually feel like the people that have loved you your whole life are the opposition. And it's not because you didn't have minor infractions or moments with them where things were off. You may have, but it wasn't anything that was going to be long-standing, and it was no indication of their deep love for you. But a narcissist wants you to feel that you are completely alone and by yourself, and it's something that they're really good at doing. And so that's what they do. So that's what she reiterated. She spent years cultivating this perfect moment to be like, see, I told you, it's horrible there. Aren't you glad we're in Montecito, so far away from them? Aren't you glad that your children weren't at the coronation of their grandfather? Said no one ever. The king, your grandfather's the king. He gets coronated. And we opted to have, you know, a Costco cake, or maybe a Whole Foods cake at Aunt Meghan. Or maybe she made the cake. She does love making her sweets. But we opted for that because we couldn't have Archie be there, because what narcissists do is they use the children as pawns as punishment. They know that they would have loved to see those grandkids, but she's pissed that they didn't have access to the titles as she's been talking about and yammering on about since Oprah, right? Anyway, there's a lot to go into there, but the focus is really here for me on Harry. I saw a man that has now succumbed to his new reality, to his new ill-gotten identity that was foisted upon him by someone who was cravenous and calculating. And yes, he takes part in it. I've had people blow me off for narcissists. So yes, I am not just saying the narcissist was totally in control. That person's free will was there, but I also have been under narcissistic abuse myself. So I know how much you care about that narcissist, and you think you're doing the right thing, and you're like, yeah, they are evil. I had someone tell me once that, like, that the advice that I'd given them their whole life. They were like, oh, you do this, you get into people's heads. Well, for a living, guys, I'm a professional intuitive empath, so yeah, I actually like help people with what's going on in their head. But what that person had done was triangulated the person that I had known my whole life, who had felt safe with me and who had been essentially family. She used the one thing that is a truth, is that I do psychological work with people, and she turned it, because narcissists are brilliant at finding the one thing and then turning it into the sin, and then turning it into you being the monster. So when I heard those words come out of her mouth, words that weren't ever said or uttered for years and years, I knew exactly what it was about. It was about a narcissist who feared my insight into her bullshit, and that knew that I could see her trickery and that I would dismantle it if I had any proximity. So she was like, we got to get this bitch away from you, actually. And so that's what she did. And that is specifically what happened with Harry and Meghan and their kids. She was like, your family has called me out. William was calling it out. Friends were calling it out. The father, I'm sure his grandmother, was calling it out. And she could not have that, because narcissists are not about accountability. They are about division and ruin in totality. So you watched it happen, and you saw Harry sit there squirming and uncomfortable, saying, I can't wait to go back. These are scripts that he's been fed. It doesn't mean that he's not actually thinking them in his head, but it means that she's had years to make sure that inside of his head were all of the negative things that she has delighted in saying, and all of the things that she has said. So Harry doesn't even know where he ends and she begins. And it won't be until the discarding begins from her in a real way, when she finds someone that she can social climb up with, if she so chooses to do, excuse me, it will not be until then that he will understand and see the truth. And then he will be in the nightmare that all of us have been in, when we realize, like, oh my gosh, I've been with a narcissist this whole time. Like, how did I not see? And for Harry, I imagine an even greater shame will be heaped upon he, because the whole world saw. He can go back and watch every news reporter, every account, every YouTuber's opinion, everybody. There is an archive of all of us screaming into the abyss to him, this is not it. Even as recent as the South Park takedown, that was brilliant, when he flips open Meghan's head at the end of the episode, and he's like, Meghan, let's just go home. Let's just actually be anonymous. Let's do all the things you said. And it's an echo chamber inside of her head. Nothing's there. She's vapid. All she wants is absolute power. And she's attached to a man that could give her that, while she is taking the reins. And he never has taken his balls or his power back. And that's the truth. But there is a heart inside of Harry still. And you will see it regarding his youth, his offspring, his progeny, when she tries to triangulate and use them against him. And she will. It's all in the narcissistic playbook, actually. She will 100% use it against him. She may even lob racism against him when that divorce begins to happen. Wait for it. Come back to this video a couple years from now. She will say, I didn't realize that the racism had seeped into his heart, and he was now racist too. Meghan, who wants to be white, who passed as white, who hid all parts of her color until it was to her benefit, will use the fact that Harry was internally a racist. What was his favorite phrase? Unconscious bias. She will say that his unconscious bias finally took him down, and that's the dastardly deed that did in the marriage. Not her scowling frown, not her withholding of affection, not her love and protection, not her destruction of an institution and a family, not her caring about what happened to her precious Harry. He is a possession, and as long as he is minding her and the business that pays her, then not that he'll have protection, but he'll be safe from her rejection. And he is terrified of that, because Harry has abandonment issues. A narcissist sizes you up. She knows exactly what buttons to push with him, because again, she studied him, unlike she studied how to curtsy and all the other things that we know are balderdash. That lying person. But that's a narcissist. It's not so much about this woman named Meghan. It's about the disease that we see run rampant in our streets. We are seeing it on a larger scale. Harry and Meghan signed up in a soulmated way for a lesson to teach us all what this looks like. And I promise you, he will look back at this and watch all of this and be like, how did I miss it? See, a lot of us are in echo chambers, really. We just have 1 or 2 or 3 families, or maybe a bestie or a coworker, or someone that can see into what's happening inside of a dynamic that's not healthy. He had the world. The world was screaming. The world was saying, this is off. Something is wrong. There's something really creepy about this person. But because he wanted to belong, and because someone came in, and I said it in my video, she said to him, I am a kingmaker. I will make you a king. And so come away from your family, because with me, fame can be brought to you. Fame I can bring. I can give you exactly what you've been craving. You should be, not the spare. That title specifically was pushed by Meghan's narcissistic energy to fuel the supply that she gets from Harry, for him to say, how you see me so great, you would allow me to splay out my pain, and you would allow me to splay out my pain, and you would allow me to have gravitas to my name, because it's always been about William, and it's always been about my father, and everyone's overlooked me. And Meghan saw exactly where the wound was, and that's where she decided, I will feast. And so she did. And so before us, we see the parasitic attachment, where now we watch Harry's behavior and we think, I don't remember him being like this. He wasn't always perfect. He certainly had his missteps. Nazi costumes, anybody? But he had a heart in him that was palpably good. There was something that was affable and likable about him. He was ranked amongst one of the more loved royals. There was always a mischievous grin and laughter between him and the late Queen. They enjoyed each other because he was enjoyable. But we've lost that. And that's because it's been consumed and eaten by a narcissist who wanted to win at all costs. Narcissists don't give a damn about your family. They don't give a damn about your friendships. They don't give a damn about your children or theirs. They care about showing up as the person who is never the spare, but always the heir apparent. And that could never happen if she stayed there. And that's why she had to leave. To bow and curtsy to Kate would have made her soul bleed. You guys understand what I'm saying? So we watched this, and we watched Harry at that coronation. And I believe in his mind, he really felt, these people don't love me. But that's because the narcissist has done her job well. And his healing is above me, it's above them, it's above all of us. He is going to have to really hit the rockiest of bottoms, because when he wants to go back, because of the egos that are going to remain intact and almost be defensive and calcify, is what I'm hearing, regarding his father and his brother just building resentment because of how he turned on them and splayed out their business, something that is just never done, ever, ever, ever. Now, many people may say, good, we needed to know about the racism in the institution. We needed to know about this. Certainly. But I think a lot of us come away with it feeling gross. Like, why did you do this to your family? A family that's literally renowned for never doing this. Well, it wasn't Harry's idea. And Harry has since begun, here's how I know he's aware that he would like to go back. At the end of every disparaging interview, he says, I love my brother, I love my father, I would love to reconcile with them, but they have to take accountability for the unconscious bias. Fine. He's walking back things. He even pushed back in an interview. He said, someone said, well, you said your family was racist. He said, I didn't say that. The press said that. Well, no, Harry, you inferred it. You insinuated it. You said it with Oprah. Meghan structured it. Do you guys see what's happening here? Even in his own brain, under the controlling claw of Meghan, he's starting to be like, shit, I did say all of this. This is a disaster. And in moments when Meghan is icing him out, or she's not sleeping with him, or she deprives him of her love and laughter, he's like, this is all I have. I have to make this work because I've deserted the only people that actually love me on earth. He will realize that later. Ooh, decrowned, y'all. I guess it's meant to be. I'm leaving it in. Decrowned, actually. He will realize that was above me, ripped right off of his head. He will not be able to go back and lay in comfortable beds and lay in state. So even when he's passed, this will be I'm hearing, this will be the great folly of Harry's life. This will always be on his head. So anyway, that's what I wanted to share with you today. When the crown leaves and goes away, that's specifically what happened metaphorically. He got with Meghan and he lost all of his aplomb, all of his shiny, all of his majesty, because he believed that someone who was an absolute nobody, literally a nobody, a social climber, cold, calculating, cruel, someone that even her cast members and mates said, we just never knew. She wasn't someone that was your friend. She would say nice words to you, but they were always empty. He allowed someone to get in, love him so completely, love bomb him so completely, that he abandoned country, state, and family. And it is such a tragedy. We have been there. For if you're watching this channel, you have suffered some level of narcissistic abuse. You understand it. But let me tell you what. Harry may pay an ultimate price here, because even upon her discarding him, he can't really ever go back there. He can, but he will never be trusted, because who's to say that he wouldn't gravitate until he's healed to another narcissistic partner, and it would be the same deal. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me. Come back and join me next time, and we will continue to evolve together.